Hey guys, bman here. How are you guys doing today? As you see, we've got an awesome one for you guys. We have my perfect sorcerer build. As you see right here, you can take out crowds. Look at how fast you can build stagger. And once you build stagger, deleted. Big bosses just get deleted and awesome, guys. This build here can take out massive crowds, they're spread out or anything while you walk away, or they can do massive damage to single targets like you've seen right there, guys. Now guys, I've got this video is going to be a long video, so I've got it timestamped. That those people that want to know all the reasons behind my build, why I've made the decisions, why and how everything's going to work together, and how I use it all, and why it all works so well together, watch the start and all the gameplay, okay? But those that just want to see the stats and the paragon skill points and all of that, that's time stamped. Feel free to skip through to that, guys. But with that said, guys, let's get in and explain this build. What makes it so perfect and everything. As you see right here, we can just destroy single target elites and stuff like that with ease. We can absolutely destroy them. Like you see here, we got two bosses. This is a higher tier dungeon right here. So this is 93, level 93 mobs, and we're only 86. And guys, I don't go any higher than that in this video because I don't have the sigils to access those higher tier dungeons, because personally I don't really see the purpose to go any higher than 4 levels above you. So this build is for that site with that in mind. It's not built to go up into level tier 90 nightmare dungeons. This is built for how you would play the game as you are playing through. Now I'm only level 86, so I'm not level 100, and this isn't maxed out, so you're going to be able to put out way more damage into this, and there's so much more that can come from this. But as you see right here, you can take out crowds with any hassle at all. But you come across a single target and you can just delete it. Just like that. The goblins, gone. They got no chance of getting away. And at the same build, we can just stand there and chill, and while mobs just get deleted while we just stand there. So this is such a versatile build. It's a build where you can just do whatever style you like and however you're playing at the time. So if you're feeling lazy and you just want to run through mobs and run away from them and watch them die like this, you can. If you've got mobs where they're higher tier nightmare dungeons where they delete you really fast, like you see these bugs, these poison bugs, they hurt when they hit and they shoot lots of poison. Well, with this thing, you just plant your blizzard and then just run away. They get frozen and they get deleted. This build right here is crazy. As you see right here, everything gets frozen and it just gets deleted. And if you come in, we can come in and we can choose to come in and actually do more damage and delete them even more. But we have that option. We could either choose to stand back out of danger and just destroy them from a distance like that, or we can get in there and really destroy them. Even if they spawn on us, it doesn't matter, guys. Going through dungeons like you see here, it makes it so awesome. You just spawn your blizzards and back off and let your blizzards kill them. It's as simple as that. Now, this is because we've got awesome synergy going on with our armor and our special aspects on our armor. We have a unique armor that has a 20% roll for us, so it's a good roll. We've got a unique armor that every time we kill a frozen enemy, which as you see, nearly everything's frozen, there's a 20% chance that it's going to release a frost nova. That's why you see all these explosions going off and everything suddenly goes vulnerable, because frost novas make everything vulnerable. So we've constantly got free frost novas just exploding everywhere all the time, guys, and that just is so OP. It's not funny, especially when you've got the spikes coming out of the blizzard, because then they crit and they do vulnerable damage and everything, and they just destroy everything. So you only need one thing to explode and everything explodes. Like here, boom, everything's gone. Vulnerable, just everything goes. And because of our ability to, when we kill something frozen, it sets off a frost nova. It sets off another one, they set off another one, it just chains out and they just keep going, guys. Now watch this, how fast this builds up stagger. Now stagger is that line that's underneath the health bar on the boss there. You see that line that's slowly going up, and as you build that up, it doesn't go down. And how that builds up is from frost and different crowd control things. Stun or your blizzard and cold damage and stuff like that builds that up. Once that fills like here, bang, they're staggered. You just do all of your crowd control damages, buffs on them, and you can delete them. This right here builds up that stagger really well, because how stagger works is each thing that you apply builds up some more. So you rotate the ones that you're applying to it, and it just builds it up like you've seen there. And as you see right here, stuff like this, you know those ghosts are annoying. Doesn't matter. We've got Blizzard. It freezes everything. The cool thing about this, the reason I actually started going to Blizzard was for the crowd control effect for damage reduction. So I've got lots of abilities on my paragon and stuff so that I take reduced damage from chilled enemies. Well, that's why I chill absolutely everything, because then I can just tank them because they're doing less damage to me. And I can plant my blizzards, walk away, and just leave everything to die, because I've got the ice spikes going off everywhere, and all that I have to do is pretty much kill one or two things, and then they just trigger frost novas that make everything vulnerable, that freeze everything again and just destroys everything, and it just goes off like you see, like fireworks. It looks cool. It feels really satisfying to just walk up and just leave everything just to die, but you don't have to. This is built so that you can do that way, so you can just walk through everything and leave it all to die like this, or you can go through and fight, because we're also very powerful without vulnerable damage. So we're not built to only be grunty with vulnerable damage. Like you see right here, we grunty with all sorts of damage. We can do our cool spawning in, suck them in, and kill them all that way, and then blow them up like we have in the past. We're tanky, and we've got the cool lazy style if we want, guys. This is just perfect in any way in my opinion, guys. And with that said, look how fast we build up this stagger on this boss, and then we just delete him, guys, and we don't even need our ultimate. Now with that said, guys, simple as, easy as. Get down there, smash that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and let's get onto this, and let's get into the stats and all the build stuff of this, guys. Let's go. As you see, no ultimate was used just then. Okay, guys, you've seen that gameplay. Let's get into this awesome build, guys. We'll start out with the gear and the aspects, guys. Now also I'm going to show you guys some options that you can use while you don't have this. If some people are wanting to build this and you've got other stuff, you'll be able to use other gear too. So I'll show you some options and some replacements as well while you're coming up, and I'll show you this full layout. With that said, let's get into this. Now guys, we're starting out with our helmet. Now for this one here, I have gone with this gain 50% armor for every hit, because as soon as we start doing damage to anything, which is our blizzard or anything, which is as soon as we start damaging something, our armor starts going up, and it's going to go up 50%, which will take us up to almost 7,500 armor. Okay, so that's really good. Now that is the reason I use that. Now for this build, another really good one that if you don't have that, another really good one that you could replace that with is the one that gives 25% damage reduction to crowd controlled enemies. Okay, because everything's going to be crowd controlled because of the blizzard. Okay, so that could be a replacement option for this, but this is what I'm using here, and I'm using this because it gives 1,000 health. So health is awesome, gives some attack speed because attack speed's awesome, and it's doing my dexterity, which helps with my paragon be able to activate some more paragon stuff. So, and then finally I've got cooldown reduction, because I really want my teleport to cool down as fast as possible, because that's one thing for doing damage to single targets and stuff like that. So that's why I've gone for cooldown reduction. So for our helmet, life, cooldown reduction are my two main things that I look for it. The dexterity was just a bonus, and then the attack speed was just a bonus. Then we've gone for the aspect. I've printed it on for extra armor. Now we're onto this armor piece here. This is vital for that teleport. If you don't have this, I would not bother with the teleport, because the whole point of the teleport is to stun them and you do a lot more damage. So this makes this build, it's a vital part for this build. It's pretty much crucial. You need this, okay? This item right here. This one right here is my I'm not using the chain lightning, so this one I'm not using completely. I've changed off the chain lightning. I had this when I was using the chain lightning, but I found I was never actually using my chain lightning, so that's why I've swapped off it. That was my old build, was using chain lightning and not blizzard, but now we're going into blizzard and it's way better. So I would ideally change that chain lightning, and I would no longer have that on. So I would prefer to have that do critical lightning damage. Critical damage to lightning because my attacks are lightning. So that's the one I'd rather that be. Now that we've also got critical strike chance, we've got attack speed, those are both awesome. Overpower damage is another useless one. I could do with something better there. Okay, now we've gone for this imprint right here. Now the main part of this imprint is we do 40% times a multiplication damage, increased damage to stunned enemies. Okay, so that there works really well with this here, right? Because this stuns everything. It pulls everything into us and stuns it all. So when it's stunned, this does 40% times more damage. That's why we're going with that stun damage as well, because we do stun a lot of things, and for single targets and stuff we can use that to do extra 40% more damage, to do big damage. So this is just stacking on top of our other stuff, on top of our vulnerables and all of that. That's why I've got that for that. This is our, when we need to, we want to delete a single target, I need the stun damage as well. So we've got that in there. That is why we're going for extra stun. Then we've got this. This right here is the enemies that die while frozen have a 20% chance to unleash a Frost Nova, guys. Now, Frost Nova is let's go over to the Frost Nova. Frost Nova is an explosion that freezes everything, but what you want to do is you want to get this down here, and it makes everything vulnerable, right? Now, this is on a cooldown timer for 20 seconds. Now, because of this, we get 3 Frost Novas going off for nearly every 5th enemy that we kill. Because we're killing everything with Blizzard, but everything is frozen, they are setting off, every 5th enemy we kill sets off a Frost Nova, which then causes everything else to get frozen, then causes everything else to be vulnerable, which takes extreme damage, and then all of those will then trigger more Frost Novas, which trigger more Frost Novas. So we've just got infinite Frost Novas going off because of this. So this here is way better than the Temerity Pants, but if you do not have this build will still work. You just won't have as much vulnerable going off, and you're going to have to really use your Frost Nova spell. You'll see in the gameplay, barely ever have to actually use the spell itself, because we have unlimited free ones going off. We just plant Blizzard everywhere, and because of the frost spikes that we'll get to soon, Blizzard kills the things while they're frozen, and then they just set off Frost Novas, which make everything vulnerable, which causes them to take way more damage and die more, and it just works so well together. So for that reason, this is why this beats Temerity Pants for this build. Also, this does freeze duration and the stuff for the freezing, which is all things that we use. So, and I've got a 20, so I've got the best roll. So for me, this was gold find. But if you don't have that, do use Temerity, because this will help later on if you need this. I was using this right up to getting this. Okay, now that's that done. Let's get on to the next part. Now, all of these gems, you'll notice we've got the rubies in there for increased life. We'll get on, there's a reason for that later, but do that. Keep that in mind, increased life gems. Our next piece of thing is our footwear, right? We used to run this one here for increased critical chance. Now, if you have that one and you don't have the freezing ones, then run these, okay? But if you have these, for this build, run these, because this one's a top roll. We get 10% times damage to chilled enemies, and literally everything is chilled. So it's just a massive damage buff, and it's rare to get boots that do damage buffs. So this is a big damage buff for boots. Also, we get crowd control duration, awesome. And this just works really well. You leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies. Now that's why you'll see I'll walk up to an enemies and then I'll back off as I'm dropping my blizzard, because then I'm dropping the blizzard over top of my frost trail, because then I'm doubling up. So then so what I'm doing is I'm going into them, I'm attracting them, and then they will follow you and come to you. So what you do is you get their aggro on you, and then you back off and you make them walk over your frost into your blizzard, which freezes them, plus your ice spikes are destroying them, and then they get frozen, and then they set off their frost novas, and it just all works. So this chill trail helps cause them to freeze faster. Okay, so this is just extra chill, better, awesome. Why not? So I've got that on. Those are perfect. Then we've got with this. Now I've got this one really just for the aspect, but we could have a better healing in there. That healing does help. It's awesome, especially because you do pull a lot into you, and as soon as you pull everything into you, you're gaining health from them, right? So this is awesome. If you can get a better roll, it's better. I do have a better roll down here, but for this I'm finding that I'm actually running glass cannon, so I can get that bit more oomph in there, eh? So when you kill them, you kill them. I'm a bit more, I take a little bit more damage, but it doesn't matter because we've got the crowd control, and because we're chilling everything is chilled, and everything gets the damage reduction stuff to it, right? So in our paragon, we've got lots of points to where chilled enemies will do reduce damage to us and stuff like that. So for that reason, we can afford to do glass cannon. So I've got 3 on glass cannon for this. That's why I've got that. But also I've got it for the shock damage, because that's a damage one, so that's a big damage, and we've got a damage roll, so I've got real damage pushing out for this one. And well, we've got it aspect for our healing on our amulet. If you can get a better rolling healing aspect, I would recommend that. Like you see here, I've got a level, it's 110 per. It's far better, and I'm just using this one because I'm liking that glass cannon, so that's why I'm using it, because I just like that little bit more power. Now, with this, guys, this is where it's up to you how you do it. If you want your blizzard to be able to walk away and leave it to kill everything for you, this is where you need this aspect. You need this aspect where when you cast blizzard, it will periodically spawn ice spikes that deal damage, right? And I've got a low roll, but as you see, it doesn't really matter. But with that said, if you can get a higher roll, obviously that's golden, but even a low roll still works. Now, with this, your ice spikes also deal 25% times increased damage to frozen enemies. So once they freeze, you're doing way more damage to them. So with this, you also want to get that extra, you want them to freeze faster, right? So that's why you add that with your chill and other abilities that I'll show you what we select in the paragon. Okay, so that is about that. If you don't want to have, or you don't have this aspect yet, and you haven't got it yet, and you don't want the spikes, but you want to do way more damage in every other aspect of the thing, what I would tell you to use, and what I was using until I changed to using the ice spikes, is this right here. Deal more damage, increased damage when you have a barrier, okay? And you're going to always have a barrier with this build because of the aspects that we'll show you in our paragon later on, and we've always got barriers. Now if you are not running these things and you're running temerity, then this becomes really powerful, because temerity is just feeding you barriers all the time, especially with these healing abilities that we've got in this build. Okay, so temerity and going damage while you have a barrier is a really good replacement for the ice spikes if you don't want being able to just run away and leave them. Okay, but this is what we're using to do the build that you're seeing in the gameplay that you're seeing, is blizzard with the ice spikes. Okay, now for this ice spikes and how they work is the ice spikes themselves can crit, and they do vulnerable damage and stuff like that. So don't worry about boosting up stats into your Blizzard, because Blizzard itself, it's not Blizzard's damage that this is calculated from, okay? So just have one stat on Blizzard and that's all that you'll need. The ice spikes do their own damage and Blizzard itself cannot crit and stuff, so all you're using Blizzard for is its ability to freeze, and then you're using the ice spikes for the damage, but the ice spikes are from this, okay? Now let's get on to the next one. We have this, you deal ideally 35% more damage to stunned or frozen enemies, right? And we're stunning and freezing everything, so goes without saying, this is just awesome. It's a damage booster. Then we've got our weapon. Now this isn't the best build for this class yet. I've got a better one I'm building. We've got this one right here. Now this one here is good for it's what you've been seeing in the gameplay, so this is what the gameplay is done with. Now the reason this is so good is because of the amount of stats this adds, okay? This adds 63 to all stats, so you'll see in my paragons, that's a vital thing that gives me access to be able to double up on some of my nodes. It gives lots of intelligence, which is also really good, but it gives lightning critical strike. Now critical strike damage, which is awesome, and it gives vulnerable damage, and it gives crowd controlled, which everything's crowd controlled and pretty much everything becomes vulnerable with our build. Now the gems we've used, critical strike damage to crowd controlled, everything's crowd controlled, and then we've put some into vulnerable because, well, everything's, it was just 50-50, didn't really matter where it went. Now then we've got, for the aspect into this, we have attack speed. Because I'm using a staff, I want it to speed it up. It was vital to try and, if you can try and get a 60% roll for attack speed, it's awesome. It makes a massive difference. Make sure you put attack speed into your staff. It'll make a big difference for this build. Do that, okay? Highest attack speed you can get for your basic skill, because that's what we use when we're not using our Blizzard. Okay, now obviously this was a better roll and I'm still re-rolling this, so I'm trying to get that intelligence and I want to re-roll it until that gets a good vulnerable damage, but I haven't got the money yet and I've got to get some money up to re-roll it because it costs like 1.5 million to re-roll this one right now. But once I re-roll it, obviously it'll be a much better roll. It's level over 800, and it is also got 2 critical damage things on it. Plus, it's got crowd control and basic skill, and they're all quite really good rolls. So all I need on this is vulnerable damage, and I'm laughing. That will make things so much more powerful. It's not crazy. So I'm just focusing on re-rolling this, and then that will replace this one. With that said, guys, that is this. And as you see here, I'm running a really high attack power. Now, this right here is all because of this right here. If we come across and we remove this, bang. Now our attack power drops drastically, okay? So, we'll get into our paragon right now. As you've seen right here, that was this right here. We put that in, and then our attack power is way up through the roof. It's literally doubles your attack power, guys. So let's go straight in and start with that one, eh? What is that and what's happening? Well, this is the glyph here. It is this glyph right here. You may not start having this. You may have to find this doing Nightmare Dungeons. Get this glyph. It's called Imbiter, right? And what it's doing right here is doing 95% damage. So it's literally giving us practically our damage on top. So it's doubling our damage. Well, why it's doing that is because we've already gotten it to level 15. Once you get it to level 15, it increases its radius. What's that means? And see how this one here only has 1, 2, 3 outside the radius, and it doesn't reach right out here. This one here has 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've gotten it to level 15, so it can see this outside radius, which means it's actually getting all these extra ones. So it's getting an extra 8.8% here, 8.8% here, and more from all around. So it's all adding up to be total of 9.5, 95%, right? Now, with that said, guys, obviously, people that spend heaps of time grinding Nightmare Dungeons out and that could have their glyphs way more powerful at this point. As you see, each time you level it up, that's getting more and more percentage and it's doing more damage. So if people you're seeing maybe doing millions of damage, they've probably got their glyphs levels up quite high, guys. So that could be a big difference. If you feel you're weak and somebody else has got the same stuff as you, but you're just not doing the same damage as them, it can simply be they've leveled up their glyphs to a higher level, because then the glyphs are doing way more damage. Now, the glyphs that I would recommend you level right up is this one right here, Imbiber, because as you see, it does that massive amount of damage. Now, with a lot of builds, you're normally always above 75% health, and if you drop, you just tap a health potion, it pulls you up. So it's very rare that you'll drop below 75% health, because you've got barriers and everything, always doing barriers. So with that said, you've always got this in play. It's an awesome one to have. I focused on that. It's doing me wonders. Do Imbiber and level it up to at least level 15. Then we have Exploit. For this build, this is awesome. Use this because it's abusing vulnerable and everything's vulnerable. And guys, why vulnerable is so good is because it's the final multiplier of damage. So when all of the damage is calculated up, they calculate all of this, like maybe it's criticals and it's damage to burning and it's all of those up. After all of those have been calculated up, vulnerable damage is calculated as the final multiplier for them all. So it actually does the biggest improvement on damage out of them. So that is why this build is so cool, because we're constantly getting free frost novas going off everywhere, which create vulnerable enemies absolutely everywhere. So we're popping off vulnerable damage everywhere. Goes without saying, we want this. So level this right up, and obviously we've got it to level 15 so that it can do a bigger radius, so that we can get more percentage from it, obviously. And then we can also get the requirements to be able to get the additional bonuses, guys. So that's also why you want to level it up, because if they're not leveled right up, they won't be able to reach enough nodes to be able to get the bonus on some places, guys. Okay, so that's why you need to level them up. Then we've got this one right here. This glyph right here is our control, because, well, we're slowing everything and freezing everything. Everything's crowd controlled. Then we've got the bonus of it, which gives bonus times damage to chilled, times damage to stunned, frozen. Well, absolutely everything is chilled, stunned, and frozen. So this is just goes without saying. It's goldmine for this build right here. So let's go back over all of this. Those were the glyphs that we've used. Imbiber, level it to 15. Exploit, level it to 15. Flame Feeder, exterior purchase within range. Deal more burn damage to burning targets. Everything's burning. We'll get into that later. But that's another awesome one, because we're not using our core skills anymore. So if we were using core skills, another good one would be this one for increased damage to critical, but we're not using any core skills for this build. So for this build, we're doing this, because this applies to our other things. As soon as we hit them, bosses and stuff like that, when we want to do it, we get all this applied, right? So this is cool. Then we've got our control. We just went over that. So that's what we've got, and always try and level them up. The higher you level this, the more buff you're getting, more damage you're getting. So this is the path that we've taken. This is your base one. And we've gotten the bare stuff to be able to get this glyph here. And we've come up to here, right? Then we chose our damage to chilled board. And we've got all of our damage to chilled. But you see, we've met the requirements for the bonuses. So we're getting even more damage. So right there, we're getting 45% damage to chilled just from that one node. And then we've got more there. Then we've got damage while healthy. Then we've got the damage to chilled. And then we've got all the damage reductions from them while chilled. And this one here, we've got the bonus. So we're getting 18% damage reduction from chilled. Plus other ones, 3% damage reduction from chilled. Then you come to here, we've got the damage to chilled, damage to chilled, plus the bonus. So that's another 45% damage to chilled. Then we carry on up, more damage. Ideally, I would go up and get this node. I still want to go up there, because then I'm going to be able to push higher tiers, because as we get more damage reduction, everything's chilled. These just go without saying, they apply to absolutely everything. Then we get to here, killing frozen enemies grants you 15% of your maximum life as a barrier. This right here is absolutely awesome, because we're killing everything. while it's frozen. So if you're not running this, and you're running this one right here, where you do increased damage while you have a barrier, you always have a barrier up, right? So that there is awesome. So you always have a barrier up. It's cool for life and everything, and it's for 5 seconds. So that's what we've got that. But then we've just gotten that as we're making our way over to this point up here. Now these are vital for this build. As you see, chill application. So this is why things are getting frozen so fast. We have 4% chill application, another 4% chill application on this node, and another 4% here, right? So we're getting an extra 12% chill application just from those nodes there, and we've got other ones in our skills. But then we're doing cold damage and more cold damage, plus an extra 30% cold damage. Damage is awesome. We're doing lots of damage. Then that's our chill board, right? Our next board we've got is our burn board. So we come across, and damage while burning is what we're focusing on for here. So we've gotten to our glyph, and we've gotten the right stuff to be able to do it, but we've got into our node. Now we've met the requirements. See, we've got the willpower, and that is why I said this 63 to all stats was really good. Because see, we're only just meeting the requirement here for our willpower to be able to get that. So that 68 to all stats is actually giving us 10% burn damage right here without you realizing it, see? And with this right here, 340 dexterity, we're meeting this now, so we get more damage reduction from things that are burning, and everything's burning, so it's all right. Well, that we hit. Now this one's getting less as effective the faster we kill things with the blizzard, because we have to actually hit it ourselves to make it burning. But this whole board's really awesome for the things when we're actually doing all the attacking ourselves and not just relying on blizzard. That's when this board comes into play, okay? So then we've gone along and just gotten the minimum dexterities to be able to get the most out of this socket so that we can get our vulnerable damage, okay? And the minimum requirement we want, because that does more damage for vulnerables. Then we've headed on up, and obviously if I get some more points, I'm going to want to come down and I'm going to want to get this. But at the moment, I've sacrificed some of this damage here to go up to this board. So we're coming on up, and this board here is the cold vulnerable damage board, right? So we come up here, come along, and we've got on these nodes here, more vulnerable damage, and we're coming up for vulnerable damage because everything's made vulnerable. Then we've put into here damage to burning enemies, as things are going to be burning all the time, and I want to try and get this thing, but as you see, I'm not there. I've got plenty more to go, so we'll keep going with that and we'll go up. Now I'd go through, I'd get these ones, I'd get the minimum requirement for this, and then I would head out of here to the stun board. And then my next board would be damage while stunned, and I would be doing the damage while stunned stuff, okay? Because then when we do our stun, which is another thing we do all the time, it's just stacking on more damage, so it's another bigger damage stack. So what I would want to do as I get more, is I would want to head here, get this, I'd want to fill out to be able to have this, so I'd want to go up to here, get that, and get this, and then I'd want to make my way over to here, and I'd want to get the stunned. Right, so that is how we've got our paragon board. Now we can get into our skill tree. Okay guys, for our skill tree, this is the skills that we have. Keep in mind, when we hover over it, you'll be able to see what ones are from items that we have and what ones are ones that we've put in ourselves. Now, before we get into that, we'll show you where we are with our renowned, because we have one skill point from that. We don't have a skill point from that. We have one from there, not there, not there. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 skill points from our renowned, and we have 4 paragon points from our renowned. But we don't have all of them, so there is a couple more that we could get. Okay, so if you see a lot more than what you have, that is why, because we have done some of our renowned. Let's get into our skill point. So the skill points that we're using, guys, and everything, is we have 5 points in Arc Lash. Then we've gone along and gotten these other 2 enchantments. Arc Lash is our main thing whenever we're not using our blizzard, so that's what our main attack is. Then we have 1 point in each of these, Frostbolt and Firebolt. The reason we have Frostbolt and Firebolt is, if you come down to here, skill assignments is that we have them in our enchantment slots. So what you want to do is you want to drag them into your enchantment slot. Okay, so these are the two enchantments that we're using. That direct damage from skills applies an additional burn, so pretty much burn, and makes them burning. So that's why you'll see all of our damage while burning buffs and percentages on our burning tree. That's why we got that, because everything we touch is going to be burning. Okay, so this is vital for this build. And then we have this direct damage applies chill. So everything we touch is also on the chill board, getting all of those things, and applies chill. Also, chill is crowd control, so every attack that we do applies crowd control, which is adding that little bit from that stagger for bosses. Okay, so that's why we've got those two in there. Now that's our first two skills. So what we have is we have one in Frostbolt, then we have one in Firebolt for their enchantments only. Then we have our Arclash with 5 in it, and then 2 others. Arclash being our main bread and butter. Okay, now after that, ignore this. We're not using this. I've got 4 on this because of that item contribution, because of my armor, but we're no longer using that, so that is irrelevant. You could have those points going to something else if you wanted, if you found that bonus on that armor. Now for this we have teleport. As many as you can get into teleport, the better, because you want to reduce that cooldown, but whatever works for you. We have 2 into teleport, but we want to get this. Teleport cooldown is decreased by 0.5 seconds per enemy hit, up to 3 seconds, so it gets you faster teleport. As soon as you teleport in, you stun everything, you hit them all, and it gets you instant 3 seconds lower cooldown. Then we have this, but as you see, 4 of it is from our items, so we're doing more damage times, but we're taking more damage. So this is a, if you're finding yourself getting killed too fast, don't have this. But if you're finding yourself that you can tank stuff easily, chuck this on. Why not? You can just kill things faster. That's what that is about. But then we've got ice armor, right? We want this on because then we can get this. When we have our ice armor active, we have more mana regeneration. Now that's cool because we want mana regeneration because we're pumping out our blizzard. And then damage against vulnerable enemies contributes to our ice armor's barrier, so it just means it lasts longer and everything's vulnerable pretty much, so it goes without saying, grab that skill. Then we've got Frost Nova. We don't even need to put any points into this because the cooldowns and all of that is irrelevant. All we've got this for is to get through. You want to get this one right here, Enhance Frost, and then you want to get this one here. This Frost Nova makes enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds, and this is vital for this build because of this making Frost Novas go off everywhere for free. And that is why we don't have to worry about the cooldown and pumping points into Frost Nova. We're getting them free. But we do want to have this so that they're always vulnerable. Then we come over to here, our conjuration. We've only got 1 into here so that we can get over to this here. Protection, put 3 into that because whenever we pump our teleport, we teleport in with a barrier. Why not? Awesome. Do it. Then you've got here, while you have a barrier active, you apply 24% times more chill. So you just freeze things way faster. And yeah, we've always got barriers open, so why not grab that? Your barriers have 15% increased duration, so we've pumped that up to 3 because, yeah, barriers are good to have and you got buffs from them and effects, so you want to always have them up. Then we've got our Blizzard. Now, I've only got 1 into this. That's all you need. Blizzard itself is not doing all the damage and stuff like that. It's actually the ice spikes, which don't go off Blizzard's damage. So ignore Blizzard for that reason. It's not our big damager. All Blizzard itself is our source of freezing and chilling and bringing up our ice spikes, right? Then we come to here, deals more damage, but that is just to get to this one so that we pass the first Blizzard. It lasts a lot longer. It's awesome. Why not? Get it. Then you come across to here. Everything, keep in mind, because of our assigned skill, this here, enchantment, everything's burning, right? So we take advantage of all these burning stuff. So we get 1 into this so that we can go through and put 3 into Devouring Blaze. The reason is you deal 30% times, it's a multiplier, way better than plus, increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. Everything's burning that we're hitting with our Arc Lash, okay? So way more damage when we critically strike. Now, if they're immobilized, which we aren't immobilizing, so that side of things is irrelevant, but we are getting extra 30% critical strike damage. Awesome. Get it. Then you have this right here. Critical strikes with shock skills have a chance to form crackling energy. That is irrelevant. We've just got 1 on that so that we can get this here. Every time you stun an enemy, you deal damage. Yeah, we deal big damage to them when they're stunned. And then you get your multipliers. And guys, also, I have this one here that we can put on. If we run this, it boosts up 3 skills onto that. And we can be doing 7,000 to 8,000 damage just by teleporting in, guys. So that itself is a really cool one. Put as many as you can into that one too. If you can get items that can contribute to it, do so. That's an awesome one. So you want shocking impact. Then we've got 3 on Hoarfrost. If you can get that as high as you can, items to add to that, do so. You deal 9% times increased damage to chilled enemies. Everything's chilled. 18 times damage to frozen enemies. Nearly everything's frozen. Goes without saying. Pump that up. This one here was just to get to that one. Your frost skills deal 5% times increased damage to elites. Then we've got this one here. Hitting enemies with shock skills increases your critical strike chance by 3%. Resets upon getting a critical strike. That's just awesome. It makes it so you hit way more criticals when you're trying to power out bosses and stuff like that. Now keep in mind, everything's burning that we hit with our critical strike, with our Arc Lash and stuff like that. So we can make the most of that, and killing and burning enemies increases our mana regeneration, which means we can pump out more blizzards and stuff more faster, which is awesome. So I've got 2 on that. 1 on this just to get through to here, and then whenever we're surrounded by a whole heap right around us and we're mealing them with our Arc Lash, we're pouring in health because they're all burning. And as you see, every 1 second you heal for 0.9 of your maximum life. Okay, now keep this in mind, 62 health for every single burning enemy around me. So if I Arc Lash 10 enemies, there's 620 health per second coming in, pouring into me. Okay, so this can be really powerful. Now this number here per life per thing is going off your health, so that's why I say put rubies into here to boost up your health more, because then that's pulling in more health. Okay, so this is like your unlimited health potions, right? So pour this in too. That works really well with this being in here, so that's another reason why we have that in there. This is major for your survivability. Then, and this here is major for your paragon, for this over here, because that's pouring in your health all the time and makes sure that you're always healthy. Okay, as well as your barriers, you're always healthy because of this. Okay, so they work really well together. With that said, then we've got our ultimate. It's just there for if you're impatient, really. There's no other, you don't even need them there. This build's so good. But when you want to, you can just pour out, or you got a really hard boss or something tanky, you use your unstable currents and it just pours out the damage. We've got these 2 here. Then we've got this one, we've gone over that, that's our increased critical strike. Then we've got this right here. Okay, I use this, I've tried other ones, this is the best. Close enemies take 10% times increased damage from your shock skills, which is our Arc Lash, and that's when we're doing bosses and stuff like that. We're just timesing our damage, because that's the thing we're doing when we're putting out our damage. It's perfect. Shock skills and deal 20% less damage to us. So close enemies dealing 20% less damage to us, so we can survive. We're way more tanky. Critical strikes increase these bonuses by 25%. So if we critical strike, then they deal 45%, I think, because that goes 20 increased by 25, so it's 45% less damage to us. And that's why we're so tanky. That, on top of us getting health, on top of barriers and everything, they just work so well, guys. So we're really tanky, as well as doing heaps of damage and everything, like you've seen in the gameplay, guys. This is just the perfect build, and it's the perfect sorcerer, in my opinion. You go around and you just have an awesome blast. There's no need to, you don't even have to touch your keyboard if you don't want to, because it's just such, your blizzards can do everything for you. So, all the ghosts out and about, pump your blizzard and run away. They're all going to walk into your blizzards, freeze and die. This is how you do it. It's just that lazy to play. If you want to do it this way, you don't have to use your skills. And everyone knows how lazy these ghosts are. How annoying these ghosts can be to kill. I'm not even using a single skill, and we're just going to delete them all. It's simple as that, guys. So with that said, guys, get down there, smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're not already. Leave me an awesome comment. And of course, thank you guys for watching my videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. bman, out.